My name is Steve. Welcome back to my shop. In this video I'm going to be doing some fabrication, which is not the norm around my shop, but I've got a little project that I want to do, and I'll go into that in a little bit more detail as we get started on it. But before we start that project, I've got a few items that I want to share with you. It's not enough to stand alone as its own video. But I recently received some mail from Australia, and this is from Cam at Battler. Here's his sticker. Cam has a machinist channel on YouTube. He's got approximately the same number of subscribers that I do. And we did a sticker swap, and so now I've got a new sticker to add to my collection. I will leave a link to Cam's channel in the description of this video. So thank you very much, Cam. I also received another viewer gift, and this is from Andy Evans, who has been a regular contributor to my channel. And recently he sent me a dividing head, and I've gone over it. I don't have a dividing head. I've got a small rotary table that can be used for that purpose, but this is a Brown and Sharp style dividing head that would be great for making gears and so on. And recently he just sent me, out of the workshop practice series, the book on gear making. So that'll be very handy as I get started on my gear making. I've been a machinist for well over 50 years, and I've never made a gear. As an automotive machinist, we primarily did remachining, and although I did some tool making and so on, most of my experience has been in the automotive industry. So there are a lot of aspects of this hobby machine shop that are still new to me. A long story, but to make it very short, I found a 4-inch general purpose Wilton vise on Greg's List not too long ago, and I called the gentleman. It was still available. We agreed on a price, and I went and picked it up. I'm going to take you over freehand to show you the Wilton 4-inch general purpose vise that I just mounted on my bench. This replaces a Columbia vise that I had, which was a good vise. It was made in USA. It was an older one. But the Wilton is just a little bit heavier duty, and the Columbia vise is going to be going to my son's shop. So I'm going to go freehand, and I'll take you over and show you that vise. Okay, here's the Wilton 4-inch general purpose vise that I just picked up. I'm pretty happy with it. I haven't done anything to it yet. I haven't cleaned it. It's got some wear and tear on it a little bit, but nothing that's debilitating. So I think I've got myself another very nice usable Wilton vise. I built my house in 1976. That makes it 45 years old, and I've got to do some maintenance around it. I've got a few soffits that need to be repaired or replaced. I've got some gutters that need to be repaired and replaced, and a couple of window frames that need some attention. I hate to work off of a ladder, and so just recently I purchased a small scaffold, portable scaffold, and it came with large wheels for rolling around. It's mostly for interior use, but since I'm going to be using it outside on some uneven ground, I need some leveling feet for it. So this project, I'm going to build some feet for my new scaffold. I typically do not wear gloves in the shop. I certainly don't wear them around rotating machinery. However, this material that I'm working with has been shear cut and it's got some really sharp edges on it. And until I get it cut up and deburred, I'm going to wear some work gloves while handling it. I've already marked it off. So I'm going to take it over to the bandsaw and start cutting it up. It measures a 1/4 inch thick and it's about 5.5 inches wide. So I'm going to be making square plates, 5.5 inches square. So let's go over to the bandsaw and get started. While I'm cutting this plate up, I just want to share something with you. If you notice, as the blade comes down, it's hitting on a sharp corner. And so you want to be very careful when you're starting a cut like this, because that will actually shear teeth right off of your blade. So when you're starting that, I'm going to take and move the camera a little bit further back, and I'll show you how I start it. I actually start the saw running up off of the material, and then I carefully lay it down with very light pressure until I have the full width of the material engaged in the blade. Just touching it, and now I'm full width on the material, and I can let the blade go ahead, and it's safe. I've got the plates all cut. Now I'm going to use my belt sander grinder to deburr them and knock the rough edges off and take and radius the corners a little bit. finish up the other 3 and bring you back when I'm ready for the next step. And the next operation is going to be to drill a 3/4 inch hole in the center of each one of these. It's not a critical dimension, so I'm just going corner to corner and drawing an X. I want them to be somewhat symmetrical, so okay, I'm going to take them over to the drill press, start punching some holes in them. Now I'm going to put a countersink in it as a weld prep. Okay, 3 more to go. A little bit of deburr action, and we're done. Well, you know what they say, measure twice, cut once. And unfortunately, I measured the material thickness again, and it's actually 5/16, so I would have undercut it, not over. So I have to make my shoulder 5/16 inch deep. And now I'm setting my 0, and I'll cut it 5/16, and I'm going to go about 5/1000 under 3/4 so that it'll have a nice loose fit for my weldment. Do it. I'll go a few more thousandths on it. Perfect. I'm going to take and cut a bevel on it for my weld prep. Got a little bit more stick out on this than I'd like, but it won't go through the center of the chuck. And for what it is, it doesn't lend itself to center drilling it. So let's do the rest of them. Well, it's time to set up to do some welding. And since I have had many new subscribers since I have done any welding in the past, what I want to do is share with you what I have done with my welding bench. This butcher block bench that I work on in most of my videos is strictly a top that has been fitted to cover my welding bench. So it's pretty heavy. So let's take and move it off, and I set it down alongside. Attempt not to drop it on my feet. And underneath is my tab and slot welding bench that I had made up to custom dimensions. 30 by 30. I kept thinking it was 40 by 40, but it's not. It's 30 by 30, and it worked out very well. So let's set up to weld these together. Clamped a small universal vise on my welding bench and put the 1-inch bar in it. Now what I'm going to do is just put a couple of tack welds on it. Then I'm going to check them for square before I go ahead and weld them up. So let me get the welder all set up. We'll get ready to go. Now I've got my garage door open for plenty of ventilation. Got my welding jacket on, which is way too warm for today. Ground cable's hooked up. Gloves are on. Helmet's down. Let's do a couple of tacks. All right. Take and check it for square. All right, I got it squared up. Let's put it back in the vise and weld it up. Pretty happy with that. And let them cool down. I'll grind the welds flat. In the meantime, while I'm waiting for that, I'm going to make up the nuts for them. Okay, I've got the nut and the rods all prepped. I ground the zinc coating off the rod in the weld area. And I ground the mill scale off the nut. So I'm going to tack it in place and then we'll weld it. Okay, looks pretty good. Let's do 3 more and the welding will be finished. Last one, all finished up. Now I'm just going to grind the welds on the foot plates and they'll be ready to assemble. Okay, I'll grind up the rest of them and bring you back. Well, there they are. They're still a little too warm to finish cleaning them up to put some paint on them. But the construction is finished. Well, that's going to wrap up this video. I hope you've enjoyed watching it as much as I've enjoyed putting it together for you. Please don't forget to give me a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already done so, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.